Soundstripe.
Welcome back to Rival Sports. I'm JP.
And I'm Matt.
And today we're going to talk about the Jets 2024 season preview. Like every offseason, it's been a tumultuous one for the Jets. A fun one, exciting one. A lot of high hopes, a lot of high expectations. And, you know, we're all just ready for the first bad thing to happen. So Matt can surely understand, being a Raiders fan, every offseason is the peak. And then it's just downhill from there.
And it starts with you guys wanting Devontae and putting that agent speak into the ether that he's so unhappy. Thank you, Deshaun Jackson, for putting that out there. But Devontae killed that rumor today. So the Raiders got through an offseason for the first time in my life without any issues.
No injuries, nothing?
They drafted Jackson Powers, and he's been dealing with a shoulder injury. So he's not going to be starting at the beginning of the year, but when he gets fully healthy, I believe he's going to step in at left guard. But that's the worst of it. Normally, we've had some really bad off seasons.
I know how that feels. Cool. So I think we'll start real quick with just some kind of breaking news from yesterday. The Jets had a pretty busy day, kind of out of nowhere. Obviously the only thing that's really left for this offseason to be complete is to get Haasan Rddick in-house with whatever kind of deal they can get him in with and get him playing. Now, because of who he is, his experience, you know, if he shows up tomorrow, he can play on Monday and maybe a smaller role. Any bit will help. What's really frustrating is the Niners were in pretty bad shape. You know, they have a bunch of injuries. Trent Williams was holding out. Ayuk was holding in. They kind of solved all those problems this week. Now, I think they should rest those guys in game one. I think it's dangerous to put them out there after not being part of the preseason. But likely Ayuk is going to play, and I'm sure Williams is going to play. We'll see what the final roster is. But, yeah, it's a tough situation for the Jets because we are almost at full capacity. You know, knock on wood, no injuries during the preseason, which usually we have a ton. So, yeah, if we could just get Haasan in, that would be a big deal. But, yeah, what's your take on kind of the Niners getting back up to full roster?
I don't think it was a question that they were going to get those deals done. It was how much they were going to have to overpay to keep their guys. I think, judging by Brandon Ayuk's comments this week, I believe that he is getting some bad advice on how to get the contract that he was looking for because he looked really bad in this whole situation. I believe you pay the players what they're worth, salary cap, whatever. I lean always in favor of the player, but just the way Brandon Ayuk went about it, I thought was kind of gross for this offseason. But I didn't think that Kyle Shanahan or that team with the expectations for this year were going to let two of their key contributors hold out.
Yeah. No, I mean, it wouldn't make sense. It's wild because I don't have the stat up, but if you look at some of the biggest contracts on the Niners roster, they have 3 players who are in the number 1 highest paid player for their position. And they have like 2 or 3 other players who are in the top 5 for their position. So they're just like somehow able to give out an infinite amount of money, which is kind of crazy.
What is it? Is it Trent, McCaffrey, and Fred Warner?
Trent's 3rd or 4th for his position.
He's the best left tackle in the game still.
He is, but he's being paid as the third best, and he's chill with that. So, but enough about them. No one cares about them. Yesterday was an interesting day for the Jets and Jets fans. There was excitement that something was going to get done, and with Rddick, and there was lots of little things that got done that made you kind of believe that we were on our way for that. So I'll show.
I think he's playing. My money's on that he's playing. Salah said today that he could still play Monday if something gets done the end of this week.
Listen, he has to play. Otherwise, the contract tolls, and we're back in the situation next offseason. He's 1 year older. He doesn't get the new contract he wants. He needs to come in. He needs to have an amazing season, which Quinton Williams will help him do that, because whoever plays on Quinton Williams' line gets a new contract and has an amazing year, because he takes so many double teams. JJ, there's tons of good people on the defensive line that are going to make him be an all-pro again, get 11 sacks, 12 sacks, and he'll get paid by someone else. The Jets want him for a 1 year title run, and that's it. They need to just give him some incentives. But, yesterday, let me share this. Yesterday, the Jets made a few moves in terms of restructures. So they restructured Conklin and Quincy Williams. They created about, I think they created about $8 million in cap space. And, one way of looking at this is they maybe want to have extra room throughout the season, especially if you need to make a trade deadline move to pick up Devontae Adams or someone else. Like you need to have some people restructured. But some folks thought this was maybe like, oh, okay, now we're going to see Rddick sign. But that was not the case, at least not yet. One thing that did happen yesterday, though, is something that really should have happened last offseason or 2 off seasons ago with Bryce Huff. They re-signed one of their folks that they brought up in their system. Has been successful for them, has been hardworking for them, and it was well deserving of that. And they lock up Michael Carter, who's now the highest paid slot corner, nickel corner in the league. 3 years, $30+ million, well deserved. He's a later round draft pick out of Duke, who has really been amazing. Next year we'll probably lose Reed because he's going to want big money. We're not going to pay him. We're going to have to pay big money to Garrett Wilson, which will be a tricky contract. And definitely my boy Sauce is going to get paid. His is going to be a lot easier because, I think the number 2 best cornerback in the league just got paid recently, close to $100 million. I think Sauce will probably get 4 years, $100 million, $80 million guaranteed. But, they needed to kind of lock up someone else to be with him. And then hopefully some of these younger guys that they have in the corner coming up will be able to fill in for Reed next year. So this was awesome. It was good to see them finally lock up someone who has been a good team player and has grown really strong with the team. So it's nice to see the front office finally do something right. They screwed up with the Huff situation. They should have locked him up for super cheap, but they kept drafting his position and, probably felt that they can get a 1 year rental for not a headache, which was not the case.
It's turned into a massive headache running up to the wire.
Yeah. But Michael Carter is a big reason for success on our defense. He's definitely not someone who gets, he's not someone who gets all the praise when you have someone
you got Aaron
like
Rodgers. You have Aaron Rodgers and Sauce Gardner and Breece Hall and
there's so many other
Williams.
Players. Yeah. But if you look at it, if you look at it, like he quietly dominated last year.
That's awesome. Out of a
first in total yards allowed, first in total receptions allowed, first in all these categories: yards per snap, snaps per reception, PFF coverage grade, penalties allowed. Like he is dominant. I'm glad he's back. But the money that they saved with restructuring does not go to him because he's still on the last year of his previous contract. This is just a 3-year extension starting next year. So there still is that hope that something will get done with Haasan Rddick. And then yesterday, of course, he almost teases Jets fans. Photos start showing up of him at an event in New Jersey, in Jersey City. This was probably a charity event that was set up months ago, and he just went through with it. He was handing out backpacks full of, school supplies to kids. So, he wasn't there just signing Jets gear, but it is funny because people got pictures of him because a couple of kids came up with like Jets helmets and wanted him to sign it. So, the running joke yesterday was like, okay, he could sign helmets, but he can't sign a contract.
It's such a Jets thing to hear.
Listen, well, I'll go into Rddick more later in this. I have a lot to say about how he's handled it, him and his agent have handled it, how the Jets have handled it. It is an absolute crap show, but it is what it is. Again, we can't have a nice offseason. You have to have some drama. Maybe they should take him to the same diner they took Revis at that year on Hard Knocks, and just get the deal done. But yeah, it is what it is. In terms of the Jets offseason, obviously last year was one for the ages. Rodgers goes down 4 plays into the game, 5 plays into the game, but season-ending injury. We are stuck back with the worst quarterback ever put on a field for the Jets, and the people behind him were no better. So it was another struggle of a season. From the outside, like I'd love to kind of get your feeling of like how the Jets season went last year, the good and the bad, because I don't think enough people actually watch the Jets that aren't Jets fans to see some of the positives. But yeah, what was your kind of takeaway from that like first game, how loud the stadium was, Rodgers coming out with the flag, like all the hype, all the preseason hype from Hard Knocks and all this stuff, and then for it to be like typical Jets like 3 minutes later?
I was at a bar in San Francisco watching that game, and I was juiced, and there was a lot of people sitting at the bar that were juiced to see Aaron, and he comes running out with the flag, and it had the feeling of, oh, this is going to be one of those big time Thursday night shootout games. Aaron's going to put on a show. And as soon as he got hurt, it looked like the Jets were just deflated. And it seemed like Aaron was installing his offense with his guys. He brought in Lazard, who's his safety net, right? He brought in Cobb, the guys that he trusts to run the offense his way. And when you had to switch from Aaron to Zach Wilson never had the vote of confidence from the coaching staff. Zach Wilson never had the vote of confidence from the media. It was, what is this guy going to do? How's he going to screw this up? He's not ready. And I think all of that was just the way that he looked and how uncomfortable he looked at the draft process and all that kind of carrying over into the season. The Jets had a fantastic roster, but it started with one injury. And then I think you tell me, did you feel like the season was over as soon as he went down?
I mean, you definitely feel like the season's over because as good as our defense is, you need a quarterback in this league. We had good enough players, not great players. I think it definitely helped expose a team that we thought was ready to win a Super Bowl and clearly wasn't. Because even without the quarterback, like we should have been able to do more. But that's actually a good thing because it allowed us to really focus on fixing the offensive line, doing things a different way, getting the right players in this year. Like Lazard is like a 4th or 5th wide receiver right now. Maybe with Rodgers, he will get back to his Green Bay prime, but he's garbage. His contract sucks. He'll be gone after this year if he doesn't do well.
He's listed as a starter with Garrett Wilson right now and Mike Williams.
We don't know what condition Mike Williams is in, but Lazard is not a number 3. He's like a number 4 on our roster right now.
Okay.
It is what it is. He was trash last year. I don't have the video right now, but he actually came out and admitted that he was trash, and I appreciate that. And I think he's worked hard. He's looked good in the preseason. He's had some stupid drops in training camp, like he always does. But for the most part, he's put up what you would expect him and Rodgers to do in the preseason. Let's see if it translates to the regular season. But yeah, I mean, I definitely felt it was over just because, we've seen this story before from the Jets, and none of us wanted to see Zach Wilson play again. The GM screwed up by not bringing in a legit backup quarterback before any of this happened. Zach Wilson should have been a guaranteed number 3 quarterback all year long. He should have rode the pine, and that's it. That was a critical mistake. We should have brought Tyrod in last year, and we would have won 10 games and gone to the playoffs. Anyone other than what we had the last 2 years would be better. You were pooping on Minshew the other day. The Jets would have won a playoff game with Minshew last year. Like, our team is very strong, even with all the injuries we dealt with last year, even with the offensive line stuff, even with Lazard not being a good number 2, with the quarterbacks where they are. Like, if we just had a proper quarterback, we could have done more. So it was a big letdown. You kind of hoped in that moment. I'm at the Jets bar in Austin. Everyone's just kind of hoping that it's an injury he can come back from in a few weeks. And it's just it was just, when the reality set in, it's just like, oh man, this is so brutal. And then, having a season where you go through 20 offensive line players, 13 different combinations of offensive line.
I forgot about that.
You have, Breece Hall and his first kind of full year back from injury, balling out, even though they're stacking the box against him, because no team is scared of Zach Wilson. So he's getting the box stacked against him. He's still putting up numbers. Garrett Wilson is still somehow, getting 1,000 yards with absolute trash bags behind center. So like, there was some nice takeaways from the season, but Sauce, Wilson, these young players, especially that draft, Breece Hall, they deserve better. They don't like to lose. So this year has to be different. We need health, luck from the gods. Aaron Rodgers doesn't have to be, the best quarterback in the league. His worst year is last year in Green Bay. If the Jets had that last year, they would have won a few games in the playoffs, like 26-12. We haven't had a quarterback do anything near that. Like, I think he'll probably get 29. He'll probably get like 27-9 this year, and that's great. That's all we need. Breece is going to be dominant. Garrett's going to be dominant. Our defense is going to be dominant with or without Rddick, and we'll take it from there.
That's kind of what I was talking about with Aaron, or the team being built around Aaron and his offense. The offensive coordinator knows the shortcomings of the offensive line last year. They knew where the problems were going to be, but Aaron Rodgers fixes all those problems with how quickly he gets rid of the football, how smart he is.
Supposed to. He didn't that first
right?
game.
Well, he couldn't.
Yeah. No, but it's also like Zach Wilson can't change the play at the line. And when he did try to do that during the year, he changed to the wrong play. So like, it's little stuff like that where that's why, like, everyone's like, oh, you need good coaching. It's like, yeah, it'd be great to have San Francisco's offensive coaches. It'd be great to have, some of these teams' offensive coaches, Kansas City, but Aaron Rodgers is the coach. Like, he calls the play that the coach wants, sees the field, and then changes it every time. So
it's not just good coaching. I mean, there's Peyton Manning, there's Aaron Rodgers, there's Tom Brady, there's Jamarcus Russell, there's Ryan Leaf. There are guys that obsess about the game and put everything they have into it, and there are guys that are there because they play football and they don't know what else to do, and they don't really care.
Yeah.
And they don't take the time to study. I don't know what Zach Wilson's study habits were, but
he said he was in there all the time studying so hard. He just doesn't have the brain for it. He just doesn't
didn't look like it.
Yeah. He tried, man. I don't want to shit on the kid. I see the talent, the few moments he plays well. Look, what he played in, he was robbed in that Kansas City game because the NFL wanted, Kansas City to win in front of Taylor Swift. But if it wasn't for that rogue pass interference call, like, the Jets win that game, and Zach still had the best game of his career in that game. So that gives you hope. And then, like, the next week, he's just back down to earth, like where he normally is. So it's just, it's just depressing.
Speaking of the NFL narrative of Taylor Swift, Barstool put out a video today that PR is staging the Travis Kelce Taylor Swift breakup for September 28th.
Why September 28th?
I didn't watch the full video. I saw it and I just giggled and, like, why is it still in my face?
I saw people complaining because, like, the NFL season hype video was like, all these really good quarterbacks weren't in it, but Taylor Swift was in it like 5 times.
Oh God!
Like, Patrick Mahomes was in it once, and Taylor Swift was in it 5 times. Um, he just won a Super Bowl, no big deal.
They're trying to go get new fans. They're trying to grow the business. Is it
Yeah, it
annoying?
works.
Sure, but I understand what they're doing.
Yeah, it's a little stupid though. This Brazil game is going to be an absolute mess. I'm glad there's a game on Friday. I got poker Friday night, so I'm going to be playing poker, watching, drinking,
I
which
got
is
a
great. It's
I
a
got a
joke.
question for you. Brees Hall. What's the news out of camp? How healthy is he? Is the offense going to go through him? Is it going to go through Aaron?
Are you talking about the offensive player of the year?
I'm asking.
The reason I don't think Rodgers can have an MVP season, maybe comeback player of the year season, but not MVP, is because I don't think they want to rely on him like Green Bay had to all those years, because Green Bay had garbage defense. I think they want to get back to the Rex Ryan era, ground and pound, let the defense do their thing. Brees Hall and Garrett Wilson are going to eat. Brees Hall could potentially be the second highest receiver in terms of receptions on the team, before Conklin or any of the other wide receivers, because I really do think they're going to focus on him a ton. He's an unbelievable running back, very explosive. They have Braylon Allen now to be kind of,
Braylon Allen looks like he ate Brees Hall.
Yeah, and he's going to be a thumper. He's going to help Brees Hall get a little bit of rest, which, we were supposed to have last year, but didn't get. And he's healthy. Again, he's another year removed from the ACL injury. He looks like an absolute beast, and I think he's going to get Offensive Player of the Year. I think he's going to put up over 2,000 combined. I think he's going to beat McCaffrey, because McCaffrey's going to go down week 1 against the Jets. And even without it, like, they both have good seasons. Like, it's someone's time to take the throne from McCaffrey. And I think Brees Hall, with this offense, with this offensive line, with Aaron Rodgers behind center and Garrett Wilson, being that threat, Mike Williams, if he can be a little bit of threat, he's going to have a big year.
Nice.
So draft him. It's not too late in your leagues. All right, let's jump into just kind of some of the offseason moves. So, obviously you have players leaving, players coming, the drafts, all this type of stuff. I touched on it earlier, but, obviously we lost Huff. I feel like $16 million is not too crazy to pay for him. I really wish the Jets did. I understand that, they have 2 pass rushers, one that's already been proving himself, and another that they're hoping can break out this year. And Jermaine Johnson, he's already there. But, I think it was a mistake to not bring him back. You can deal with it next year. If you have 3 amazing pass rushers, you deal with it at that point. This is an all-in season. The coaching staff, the GM are gone. The guy was undrafted, came up through the system, yada, yada. You know the story. But whatever, we swapped it out with Haasan Rddick. We basically did a swap. That's been a headache, but I think it resolves itself. And then we have someone, which Huff has not yet. Haasan Rddick has 50 sacks in the last 4 years. I think he's 3rd or 4th highest.
He's up
Jets
there.
haven't had something like that, man, since forever. So they picked up Haasan Rddick, hopefully for real soon. Tyron Smith, man, his contract's super team friendly. It requires, I think they're going to do what Dallas did last year, which is take it easy on him during the week, let him rest, make sure he's good for game time. The more games he plays, the more he gets paid. So very team friendly contract. Mike Williams coming off the ACL injury. Who knows what he can be, but he can catch the ball anywhere. I think he can be a major threat in the red zone. He's definitely gonna have a chance if he's healthy. Garrett Wilson's gonna get a lot of double teams. They're gonna have to keep an eye on Brees Hall. I think Conklin and Williams can get a lot of touches because of that. So,
guys like Sean Livingston and DeMar DeRozan are just exceptional at the mid-range, and they, at the end of their career, were still able to get double-digit points. Mike Williams within the 25, not even just the red zone, but 25 and in, that big body, big frame, He may not be able to run as fast as he used to, but a veteran like that in the red zone with Aaron Rodgers, yeah, you're going to get – I would expect double-digit touchdowns out of Mike Williams.
If healthy. If Mike Williams is getting double-digit touchdowns, and I already expect Brees and Garrett to have it, like it's going to be a monster season. I'd be happy with Mike Williams just being on the field all year long. We did lose some folks on the defensive line. Some left in free agency, some we traded away, which is part of why this holdout situation is going on, because we traded away one of the guys, JFM, during the draft when we thought we were going to be good to go with Haasan. But, we backfilled pretty nicely on the defensive line. So we have Javon Kinlaw, who, the staff has experience with, and they think they can get way more out of him than what San Francisco got out of him. Obviously, we brought in Tyler Taylor. We brought in probably the best backup quarterback we could have gotten this offseason to make sure that if anything happens, we still make the playoffs. We still, if Rodgers needs to be out a week or 2, 4 weeks, whatever, we're not going to have an absolute train wreck. Tyrod can win more games than not with this team. Brought in Lakey Fotu, and then a really nice addition for the Jets is someone that all the fans were bummed they let go a year or 2 ago. In Morgan Moses on the offensive line. He's now back from a trade with the Baltimore Ravens. He is a strong team guy, great offensive lineman, loved being on the Jets. We should have kept him, but he's back now, and that was like a really nice kind of off-season story. So, when it comes to the draft, it was kind of a weird draft for the Jets. If you're an outsider, like I don't know if you kind of focused on it too much, but like they definitely got what they needed to do right off the bat. They traded back, they got some extra picks, and they got one of the best offensive tackles in the draft. Obviously, they tried to move up and go after neighbors. They definitely wanted to bolster their wide receiver corps, but when that didn't happen, I think Fashanu, however you say it, I think that's the best case scenario for the Jets. They need more tackles going forward. He can learn from some of the best offensive linemen that the vets that we brought in. I think that was like a really good first pick.
With the Jets' history, you're going to need about 7 tackles to be healthy this year.
No, not if we can get one that doesn't eat himself out of the team. Although he's been talking a lot of smack now that he's on the Eagles. I'm sure that's going to go up in flames soon enough. Second pick in the 3rd round, so Malachi Corley. I think it's going to be interesting to see him this year. He's, technically Lazard's probably in the 3rd role and Corley's in the 4th role, but I think Corley is going to be super interesting for the Jets. He'll definitely battle with Lazard for catches. We'll hopefully get the Yak King doing his thing. Another weapon. After that, we go running back with Braylon Allen and Isaiah Davis. A lot of people are like, why the hell you keep going running back? But this is just the Jets' MO. And I think a lot of teams try to do this each year. But if the Jets don't want to pay Breece Hall, which I think he will show that he's so good this year, they kind of have to. Mm-hmm. But if they don't, they're just going to keep having new blood in. And I kind of like that at the running back position. All these teams feel like they can just replace running backs, but it's good to do it consistently. Take one every year in the draft,
Raiders did that. They took they took Dylan Lobby, and then they signed Madison. They didn't draft 2. They drafted 1. But yeah. He's not the same style player as Zamir White or even Josh Jacobs. He's more like, if you watch his highlight tape, he looks like Austin Eckler. And the Raiders have the old Chargers GM who drafted Eckler there. So,
yeah. After that, we go for Jordan Travis, which is it's one of those things where, it sucks he got injured. He was having an amazing season, very strong college player. He's probably going to redshirt this year. I don't think we'll see him even dressed ever. He'll rest up. He'll redshirt. He'll learn from one of the best in the game. 2 of the best. Tyrod, listen, he's had a lot of injuries, but yeah, he knows how to play football.
He's been in those
and maybe it's something that Yeah, in a few years he could turn into something. It's a whatever pick. We needed to pick a quarterback and see what happens.
Oh, no, I don't think it's a whatever pick at all. I think look at Florida State the first 2 weeks of this season. They didn't
Oh yeah,
lose their entire team, but oh boy, do they look like they cannot play football without him. And at the end of
yeah,
last year, the week before the playoffs was decided last year in college football, Florida State was making such a run because Jordan Travis was playing out of his mind. He had a great season before he got hurt. I think it's a fantastic pick. He's going to learn how to be a diligent quarterback from Aaron Rodgers, and he's going to learn how to play quarterback outside the pocket from him and Tyrod. I think it's a great situation for Jordan Travis. I don't like what's happening to the running backs, but I get it. And and you get the ball 20-25 times a game and your offense is running 60 plays and you're taking the brunt of those hits and GMs are like, well, you're going to fall off a cliff at 28. So we're going to give you one contract and then we're going to replace you with somebody young. I don't like it, but I get it. And I hope Brees doesn't. What has he got? One more year after this year on his contract, or is this his last rookie year
yeah.
deal?
So if you remember that draft, the Jets drafted 3 players in the first round. So they got Sauce, Garrett Wilson, and at the end of this first round, they got Jermaine Johnson. They tried to trade up and get Brees Hall at the very end of the first round, so they would be guaranteed 5 years of him. Unfortunately, they weren't able to move up. They moved up and got him in the beginning of the second, and so he needs to get paid after this year.
So this is his last year on the rookie deal.
It's not his last year, but yeah, I mean, I guess we could like franchise tag him and stuff. I don't know. They're gonna have to figure something out. It really depends how the season goes.
This is the last. No, this is the last year on the rookie deal, the rookie contract.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to extend him now so that, because he's going to ball out. It's a contract year. He's going to play out of his mind.
Yeah. And then the very end, we went back to defense. Quantez Stiggers, which is kind of a feel-good story. Guy who, was down and out, killed it in Canada and is now been given a chance. He looked very good in the preseason. He could be that cornerback that takes Reed's role next year if things go well this year. We'll see how that plays out. And then in the 7th round, Jalen Key, safety, Mr. Irrelevant, just kind of a fun pick. We'll see how that, how that goes. Jumping into training camp stories, like obviously Haasan Rddick has kind of dominated that conversation. And that's almost a good thing in a sense that other than the national media, like pooping on Rodgers at any chance they can get, like he was there for the whole offseason for the non-mandatory stuff. And then he like takes 2 days vacation and everyone freaks out. That was the top story for like 3 weeks about how Aaron Rodgers like missed 2 days of camp, not counting in the 13 extra days he did. But outside of that, like there wasn't a ton of drama. I mean, Michael Carter was a nice icing on the cake at the end of training camp where you kind of pay one of your guys and show these young players like come here, put work in and you'll get yours. And that's something that Sal's kind of always preached, whether it's with us or someone else. We want to set you up for success and pay you. And yeah, I mean, training camp, like I loved the way they went about it this year. Kind of sucks that Rodgers didn't get a little bit of playing time. I think that's a miss, but they had 3 joint practices with the teams that they played in the preseason. They had a very hard training camp. So I do think the team's going to come out a little bit better than last year, not so flat-footed. They still beat Buffalo. Aaron Rodgers is still undefeated as a Jets quarterback because he gets credit for that win. But, I do feel like Aaron Rodgers usually starts the season a little slow, and now he's like a year of not playing. I think he's going to be a little rusty, and I'm hoping the rest of the team is like going to be able to hold it together the first few the first 2 quarters of the game until he gets comfortable and then hopefully lights the 49ers up, in the second half. But yeah, I mean, other than Rddick, it was pretty quiet off season, which is nice.
I was in Santa Clara for Sunday night, Packers Niners, when Aaron just picked them apart. And I think he gets a little more excited for games against the Niners. He'll still bring up that they passed on him. He's still bitter about that, and he's gonna try his best. I bet he has a monster game.
He has like crazy numbers against the Niners in the regular season. He also has a crazy win percentage in Monday Night Football games. I think he's like 11-1 or something stupid like that. He's 6-3 against the Niners during the regular season. Let me see his Monday Night Football stat. Yeah, he's 30. Maybe that's not as impressive as I thought. He's 13-8. Whatever. That's better odds than not. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. The Jets started games so poorly last year that they just need to stop that. I don't want to see. I can see the Niners going up like 10-0 after the first quarter or the first half. But then hopefully they can settle in and kind of make it a game, because I just, the last thing I want to see is get blown out game one. I think if we win, which we could definitely win, that's great. A great way to start the season. Then we go into 4 very winnable games, and then we play Buffalo, so we can be 4-1 going into division games. We're playing a bunch of rookie quarterbacks early in the season, even though we're traveling a lot, even though we're going to Europe. But yeah, that first game is just like, just don't get embarrassed, play a good game, get Rodgers out healthy, and win or loss, it's a win. But man, if we win that first game, like that's gonna finally make people shut up a little bit about the Jets and Aaron Rodgers, and hopefully then we can rattle off, like I said, those 4 wins, go into that game prime time against Buffalo 5-0. That season, that stadium might be louder than it was for opening day last year, which was probably the loudest it's ever been for the Jets.
I think you guys win Monday.
I hope so, man. I hope so. Let me touch on Rddick now a little bit. I did make a video a few weeks ago about Rddick, so check that out if you want kind of a full detailed breakdown. But I'll start with, I think we are a Super Bowl team with him. I think we're still a very good defense without him, but I think we are a top 1 or 2 defense with him. I'm not going to poop on this guy who's been so consistent. I think he brings elite production to a line that has a lot of all pros on it, a lot of strong players on it already. He's very versatile, not the best at run blocking, but definitely strong pass rusher. I think he'll be very complimentary to a lot of the players around him and give them chances to succeed and have good seasons as well. He's just got an awesome pressure rate, and he's got that experience. He's got that leadership. Now, what's frustrating is the Jets couldn't figure out. The Jets are the only team that would actually do this, of course. But they go into this trade. They weren't able to agree on a deal. I think they offered him something. He didn't agree, but they felt they were close enough to take the risk, give up a conditional third, bring him in. And at his press conference, the last time he was in the building, the only time he's been in the building, he said that, they're going to get something done. He's going to be in the building. He's going to participate. And then he never showed up again. So, from where JD's coming from, obviously, he trusted he could get something done, and then this guy doesn't show up at all. And I wish he had just held in like Ayuk did. If he had just held in, I think this would have been solved a long time ago, because the Jets absolutely refuse to negotiate until he shows up. So it's kind of this pissing match between them, and it's just but I get it. The Jets can't extend or give this guy a big payday when all these other players on their team, especially the homegrown ones, all these young guys are putting everything on the line for just a few bucks, and they're all on rookie deals. And you're just going to pay this guy that's never been on this team before, that's never shown up to the building before. Most of these guys have no relationship with him, so I don't think it's like been a distraction because he's never been there. They never had him, so it's like, I don't know. What do you think?
I don't like this part of the NFL when it becomes the business. Haasan Reddick brings one of the elite skills, and that's on third down. It's a passing situation. He's going to get there. And when you put him just outside of Quinnen Williams, it's going to be bonkers. And he knows what value he brings. The Jets know what value he brings, and they're in a standoff. And this fucking sucks because the Jets finally have a fully healthy roster. There's a lot of buzz from respected people. I don't know what your thoughts are of some of the analysts that cover the NFL that were on Countdown or other ESPN shows, but Mina Kimes, Diana Rossini, Rich Eisen, Dan Patrick, all really bullish on the Jets this year. All people that are out at training camp, all people that do in-depth interviews and want the Jets, or seemingly want the Jets to be successful. And Haasan Reddick is a missing piece. I don't know what he's looking for. Do you know what the money is? Has the agent put that out there?
That's truly frustrating. Is none of the beat reporters really have said anything about like what has been offered, what he actually wants. Like I forget the other player that is kind of in his league. Some other player just got like 2 years, 48 million or something. So I think he wants at least like a 2-3 year contract, 25 million a year. I think ideally he wants 30 million a year. The Jets are not going to do that. I don't think the Jets wanted him for more than this year. I think they wanted to just rent him for 1 year and see how their younger players do, and then have money next year to pay Garrett and Brees. They can't be paying this guy who they barely know 25 million a year next year when they have so many other mouths to feed.
Are you talking about Danielle Hunter?
Yeah.
That's
a difficult situation because it's like you kind of had an understanding that this player was going to come in, play out this contract. Maybe you want to like guarantee his money because none of it's guaranteed right now. So I totally get him not practicing.
Right.
So maybe you guarantee him his money and then give him incentives that are easy to hit that get him to 25 million a year, and just be done with it and be like, listen, if you make $25 million a year, it's because you had an amazing year. If you have an amazing year, someone's going to give you that 2 or 3 year, final big deal that you're looking for. But now it's like he doesn't have any more cards to play. And if he sits out, like, who's going to want to give him that big deal after all this? Like, the Jets are at fault for not just getting that contract done at the time, what like a normal team does, just getting the contract done at the time of the acquisition. But from there, like, I feel like they've gone about it the right way and said, listen, we're going to focus on the people. We're going to pay the people that show up. Just a little bit of the timeline. They acquired him back in April, conditional 2026 third-round pick. They knew he had a contract dispute. He was in the final year of a 3-year, $45 million contract, which obviously he's underpaid. He's paid like the 20th or 22nd best pass rusher in the league. But the reality is he's like top 5. So I get that part of it. That's why he wanted the Eagles to pay him, and that's why the Eagles said, piss off, we'll just bring in Huff for $16 million. He then started holding out after saying that he would show up and negotiate. But he's been getting fined. So he's already lost over $2 million in accumulated fines that he can't get back. And it starts really ramping up if he misses game checks. So that's why I really think he shows up Thursday or Friday, like tomorrow or Friday, and potentially plays a little bit in week 1, because he's going to start losing like $800K plus a game. And a lot of this money, some of that money can be given back, but the few $1 million he's lost already based on the collective bargaining agreement, he can't really recoup. Now, can the Jets overpay him? Because in reality, to make up for it, like, yes, like they can figure something out. What was interesting is like on August 12th, he asks for a trade. And it was early. Like, I feel like he could have waited a few more weeks. to pull that was their last thing. Like that, they don't have anything else because he's on the final year of his contract. The Jets own his rights. If he doesn't come back for at least 6 games this year, the Jets own his rights next year, and then they just do this all again. So like, it was weird that they kind of shot their last shot so early in like the drama. And JD did something that he rarely does, which is, he came out like right away and was like, until he shows up, we're not negotiating. And
Rddick has no
so that's where we're
leverage.
at.
His leverage is that he's a great player, but he has no business leverage right now.
Well, again, because the Jets got rid of JFM, they obviously lost Huff, and then they get rid of
Mhm.
JFM because they think they have Haasan Rddick in. That might have been the turning point in the offseason where him and his agent were like, oh shit, now we have the Jets because now they need me. But the Jets were like, listen, Jermaine Johnson's awesome. We got Clemens, who could kill someone. And
yeah,
we'll let Will McDonald show us what he can do. So if the Jets go out, if he doesn't come this week, and the Jets go out and do really great on defense against a good San Francisco team, win the game, the leverage is gone. He shows up. If the Jets have an injury, which he was probably also banking on during the offseason, if the Jets get an injury or if they look like crap because they can't get anywhere near Purdy, like Purdy should be running for his life the whole game. Purdy, even with Trent back, I don't know what shape he's going to be in. Purdy should be running for his life the whole game. And if he's not, then maybe the Jets get desperate if they really look like crap on defense and pull the trigger. So he might be waiting to see what happens week 1.
I don't know. That's a lot of money. And when you start dipping into that level, it's already $2 million, and it's going to be $3.5 million after 2 games, and it's just going to get worse and worse. I just don't see him having any leverage. If he doesn't show up to play, it's his fault. It's a bad agent, in my opinion.
And again, check out my other video. I went a lot more in depth, but I do understand his side of the story. No one's showing up for 14.5 unguaranteed. If he gets hurt in the preseason, he makes no money. And
Right.
then he doesn't get that big contract next year. I get it. And I think the Jets are, I think the Jets should have basically said, here's 14.5 fully guaranteed. And then here's, we'll give you $1 million per sack up to 12 sacks. You can make 27 million this year if you have like a year that you've been having the last few years, and then you go and get your next payday. I think it's as simple as that, and I just don't know why it's not done. I think they're just being butthurt that he hasn't showed up, but I get where he's coming from. Every step of the way, the team that drafted him, his first 2 years were rough. He kind of turned the corner towards the end. They didn't keep him. They didn't give him any payday. He went to like Carolina. I think it was Carolina, the Panthers for like 2 years, really starts to show promise, doesn't get a payday, then goes to the Eagles for like 3 year, $45 million and instantly outplays that contract. And then the Eagles don't give him an extension or a new contract. So like every team he's done well for, he never gets what he's looking for. And now the Jets are kind of stuck with a butthurt player.
Can't have nice things, buddy.
This defense would be so good if he's playing. So let me show you. I'll show you kind of. Hopefully this will play. But this was him at his press conference when he came to the Jets. Hold on a second. Let me know if you can hear this.
Haasan, with the Eagles, you obviously came in and helped them kind of take the next step and go on a playoff run. What did you learn from that experience, and how do you think you can apply it to your time with the Jets coming up here, a team that's obviously trying to take the leap and go where you guys went a couple years ago?
The biggest thing, man, was chemistry and bonding. You look at that 2022 season, the one where where we went to the Super Bowl that year. Man, we had so many pieces come in, but we were dedicated to getting to know one another. We were dedicated to being around each other. We were dedicated to being friends and creating.
So hold in. So come, make those relationships, learn the playbook, hold in. But no,
in a brother type bond with each other, and that was something that was on display the full year. And I think that that is one of the major things that I can bring here is, that brotherly love, bringing people along, helping everybody become, a team, a family type unit. So that way we can all reach our goals and be where we want to be.
Haasan, you mentioned jumping on that point. You mentioned Will McDonald earlier. He's a young kid who didn't play that much as a rookie, and I know the team has high hopes for him. How much do you think you can help a kid like that? Having gone through what you've gone through in your career to and help him, make the next step.
Yeah, a lot, man. I believe I could help Will a lot. Talk to Brooke about him earlier and just learning out about him as a person and some of the things that he went through. My path to get here wasn't easy as well, and I won't compare it to his, but being a veteran, being somebody that has had success in this league, man, it's a lot of knowledge that I have to give up, to give to the younger guys, and that's what I'm here to do. Been speaking about it all day. Outside of this, I've been speaking about it all day about how generations, the older generations need to take care of the younger generations, and in order for great ball to be played, in order for any goals to be hit, I definitely have to give my expertise, give my knowledge.
So it sounds good, like what you want to hear when you just acquire a guy. And yeah, it's kind of gotten downhill since then. And I'll play you in. This is from, I think yesterday. JD, like, he doesn't have to talk a lot, so that's what sucks for the coaches, especially the Jets coach, because JD screwed up last year, didn't bring in a good backup quarterback, and he only has to talk at the beginning and the end of the season, and maybe at the midway point. So Salah's got to eat crap all season long for the choices that JD made. But it's right before the season, so the reporters got some time with him, and he was not messing around.
Joe to adjust his current contract without him being here, to get him here? Is that something that you guys would be willing to do?
I mean, I think we've been clear from the outset of, hey, let's get here and then let's talk. So, obviously, again, I want to reiterate.
No is what he's saying.
It's
what he said.
He said, "F no."
Yeah.
Am I giving him that contract?
It's just not. But it's just not. I don't have the benefit of just dealing with one person and one agent. And so, a lot of decisions that you make reverberate through the locker room and have a ripple effect in the locker room. So to me, that is and will always be the most important thing.
Are you willing?
And that's the key right there. That's the key is I can't just give this guy whatever he wants because we don't know him. He's done nothing for us. I got a locker room full of people that want money, and it's a bad look if this guy can't even show up and hold in, So I don't know. We can wrap up this Reddit conversation, but what is your feeling at this point? Does he ever play it down for the Jets, or do they end up trading him?
Oh man,
who has the money for him?
I didn't even think about them trading him. I would assume that because of his production the last couple of years, the advice that he's getting from his agent or the camp around him is, even if they make a big enough of a mess and they trade him to a contender, he'll get extended there. That's the only way that they're accepting that trade. I'm not sure what the terms of his contract are. He's probably thinking that if he sits out this year, whoever is willing to pay him now, that's not the Jets, we're going to be willing to pay him without a year on the year of wear and tear in a full season. He's an elite pass rusher. Is he going to miss a step or lose a step if he misses a season? I don't think so, and I don't think that he believes that he would lose anything by skipping this season. But with that said, I just don't think that with the money you said just a few minutes ago, I don't think that he holds out any longer. I think he's got to show up. He's got to show up.
This has been a like, again, the Jets screwed up in the beginning by not just getting a contract agreed to before they did the deal. That being said, he's played this poorly. Him and his agent have screwed this up since then. They don't really have that much power in the situation, and it's kind of been a big waste of time. The Jets are not going to trade him. Maybe he comes back and only plays 6 games at the end of the season. We only pay him for 6 games. And honestly, if we win a Super Bowl, I don't really care. But I can't see him getting the big next deal he wants unless he gets in the door tomorrow or Friday, has a good season for the Jets, and either gets paid by the Jets or someone else. Like, I don't – he was available. The Jets weren't the only team that had the ability to trade for him. Nobody wanted to trade for him because nobody wanted to pay him. And that's been the story for his whole career. And acting like this, behaving like this, is not going to get him more money. It's not going to get him more years on his next contract. So it's been a miss for him and his team. And, you know, it sucks. Like, it's typical Jets to have something like this happen. They're partially to blame, but I do think he's on the field for the Jets. If not week 1, week 2, and then, you know, we ride from there. Freaking murder people.
Well, buddy, it was good seeing you. It was good catching up. I'm excited for
we gotta
tomorrow.
do. Hold on. We gotta do predictions.
Ooh.
Obviously, we already did the Raiders predictions. What did we say? Like 5-12.
Don't let the Raiders finish with a better record than you again.
No, I'll just freaking stop watching football forever. Who am I lying? I can't give up. Can't stop one side. All right, so this is the Jets schedule. Again, the hardest game on their schedule is the Niners. And even though it sucks to be on the road, Aaron Rodgers' first game back, at least it's grass, but it sucks for it to be like on the road. But what's kind of nice about it, like I said earlier, if you lose that game, who cares? No one expects you to win. You could still have an amazing season. If you win, you got your hardest game of the year out of the way, week 1, and you got a W. Like, that's crazy. But yeah, so we're on the road, week 1 and week 2. Week 2 against Tennessee, rookie quarterback.
Second year
quarterback, but, you know, young quarterback against a dominating defensive line. Week 3 against a team that's up there for maybe the worst team of the year already. Thursday night football, though. So they have 3 games within like 10, 11 days. Maybe I'm not doing the math right. But yeah, pretty much. So that is a very hard stretch, but they could easily come out 3-0 or 2-1. At Denver with a rookie quarterback. Home against Denver finally. We've had too many injuries at that stadium. We're never going back there. ABT gets hurt there every year. If ABT gets hurt in this game, we're never playing Denver again. And then this is the game I'm trying to like just bite the bullet and go to this game because there's a lot of Jets influencers who are throwing parties in London. The Jets have London as like their international market that they have they're growing their fan base in. I think that'd be a really fun game. But now that their rookie quarterback went down, week 5 on the road in London versus Sam Darnold.
I think you guys should be 4-2 after those 6 weeks. I'm not sure where the losses or the wins come from. You could have a hiccup against the Patriots. You could beat the Niners. You could lose. You know, you could have a big win against the Niners late and lay an egg against the Titans. I don't see that happening, but you got to exit that week 4-2. You got to beat the Steelers. They are in disarray. Patriots again, and then you've got a tough test against Houston. That looks like it's at home, though, which is great for you.
It's at home, and we curb stomped them with Zach Wilson last year. It was the craziest game because Houston was looking so good before that, and the Jets defense just made CJ look like a rookie, which no one else could do last year. So that'll be interesting if he tries to get some payback. It is at home. It is the primetime game. Rodgers loves those lights. Yeah, that'll be an interesting one. Arizona, like they got some weapons, but come on, like if we can't beat Arizona, what are we doing? Same with the Colts. Pretty crazy that the Jets have technically 5 primetime games, 2 Monday Night Football, 2 Thursday night, and 2 Sunday night. But then they also have I forget who it's against. They also like technically have a standalone game for not Black Friday. I think they're playing like. Oh yeah, no, sorry. It is October 31st. So they have a Halloween game against Houston. So yeah, let's run through this. Niners, win or loss?
On the road. Aaron loves to beat the Niners. I think the Jets win.
I'm going to say win also. Week 2, Tennessee.
I think you guys lay an egg. If you have an emotional win, I think you lay an egg against Tennessee.
Okay, I'm going to say win. Patriots, Broncos.
You're going to stomp both those teams.
Yep. Vikings on the road in London.
Jets
against
win.
Sam Donald. Jets win. Home, Buffalo. Primetime.
I think I've got to go with a loss on this one, just because I don't think you leave that 6-game stretch without being 4-2. I think that's best case.
Okay. I'll say loss. I think the Jets lose 1 against Buffalo, 1 against Miami, and then win both against the Patriots. But I really do think the Jets play Buffalo really well at home the last few years. So like I think it could be a win, but I, as a Jets fan, cannot put them at 6-0 to start the season because that's just unrealistic. So I'm going to put them. I'm going to say that's a loss with you. Steelers, Pats. I think win-win.
I agree. I think that the first meeting against Buffalo is going to be really fun to watch. Keon Coleman versus Sauce Gardner. I think that's going to be a really entertaining game.
Yeah. Houston.
I think CJ wins.
I'm going to say, yeah, I'll say it's a loss. Cardinals, Colts.
Jets beat the Cardinals. Jets beat the Colts in a tight one.
And then Seahawks at home. Geno Smith, another Jets quarterback coming back for vengeance.
You got like 30 of those scattered around the league. I think you beat Seattle at home, drop the next game to Miami pending health. That's the December 8th game. If Miami is healthy, it's going to be hard to keep up with them.
Okay. I think I agree with that. I think we take, even though it's on the road, I think we take care of Jacksonville.
I agree.
LA. That's home again.
So if the Rams are contending by this week, December 22nd game, that means Aaron Donald is unretired and is back, and that changes the game. But as the Rams are right now, I think the Jets are a better team.
Yeah. All right. So, and then, 2 divisional opponents away. I really want to take back my loss earlier because I do think the Jets will probably lose at Buffalo. And potentially, I think they. So if the record is what it is in my hand right now, and what I'm thinking right now, they might not need to start people against Miami that last game of the season,
Mm-hmm.
But if they needed to win to get in, to win the AFC East, like that would be a baller game. So I don't know. I have the Jets at like 12 or 13 wins. 13 would be like the most in their history. And I think 12 or 13 wins locks up the AFC East.
I can see 13-4.
Yeah. Me too. I mean,
13,
it's
13, 14
it's
wins is
stupid to
definitely
say as
doable.
a Jets fan.
Let's revisit this around week 6 and see how we look.
Oh God! So here's how some jabronis. Here's how they put it for the AFC East. So you have two folks, and I honestly think Rich Eisen just said Miami as like juju because he's a Jets fan. I think he's trying to curse Tua or something. But it's kind of split, and I think in reality in this division, Miami got weaker. They lost linemen on both sides of the ball. Their defense got a little bit worse. Their offense was uncharacteristically healthy last year, especially at Tua. So we'll see how they do, but I do think that they are the second best team behind the Jets. I think Buffalo got way worse. I saw some people picking Josh Allen to be the MVP this year. That's probably because he's going to have to do all the work for them to even win some games.
Absolutely.
I just think Buffalo got a lot worse on defense and on offense. So we'll see.
None of those experts think that the Bills are going to do anything this year. And I saw a lot of people in fantasy football draft coverage talking about fading quarterbacks. Josh Allen was the darling last year, and every expert is saying to fade him in fantasy this year. And I think that's going to be indicative of the Bills season.
Listen, Josh Allen has a very good regular season. I mean, Tua had an unbelievable regular season last year. He just can't beat teams that are over 500. Josh Allen, he balls out during the season. So I think fantasy-wise, he will be good. I think because he doesn't have to focus on getting the ball to Diggs, he can hopefully spread it around and still have a very good statistical season. I just don't know if their wide receivers are enough to compete with Miami if they're firing on all cylinders or our defense. So we'll see. Everyone counted Buffalo out, and they friggin' won the division again last year. So
Right.
We'll see. Right, man. I appreciate it. We'll try to do a quick little Raiders preview this week. We did a bigger one earlier. You can check out that video, and then we'll be doing probably a lot shorter videos, but more of them during the season as stuff comes up. Maybe I'll set you up to live stream during Raiders games so I can see the madness as it unfolds.
The anguish.
Dude. But yeah, man, I'm wishing a good season for the Raiders and for the Jets, and I hope everyone implodes, especially the Niners week 1.
I love it. All right, buddy. I'll talk to you soon.
Later, man. Go Jets.